David Reid, my friend, how are you doing?
Well, we're getting along pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. Like we were saying a little bit before, before we jumped on here, you've had quite a year, my friend. Quite a year.
Yeah, certainly have. Um, we had the fire where we lost everything, so that was a bit of a setback.
Yeah.
But it actually we wound up being in better shape afterwards. We were well insured. The insurance company treated us very well, didn't give us any issues.
Yeah.
Got full payout on everything. So we were able to get into a new place and kind of get settled in, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we ran out of insurance money before we finished doing everything we wanted to do. But
No. No, the insurance, hey, the insurance. But
yeah,
well, it looks like you're back up and running. That's the thing I wanted to get into today because we met last year around this time, and I had the chance to come to Edmonton, and we had a little meetup. We Dave knows a thing or two about healing, and I want to talk about your new Facebook group, Next Level Healing. But we're both Canadians, so I wanted to start with like, what the hell is going on with our country, man?
Oh, we don't have time to talk about everything that's wrong with our country right now.
Isn't it not? It's an insane time to be Canadian, and just if you can take yourself out of the I don't want to say, well, I'm going to say it, the shit that's going on politically. It's fascinating what's happening here. It's unbelievable. I don't know how you feel, but it's like, I don't know how do you think Canada's lost completely, or do you think there's hope?
Well, the problem that we've got in Canada with politics is we have an imbalance between the East and the West. I mean, Canada is a huge country. We've got 11 provinces or 10 provinces and some territories and that kind of thing. And I mean, we're by area, we're like the second largest country on earth.
Yeah.
Just a hair behind Russia. So, I mean, we've got we've got a lot of area, and the problem with when the current constitution was finalized is that the West got way fewer seats by population than the right, or than Eastern Canada. So, but when we have a federal election, the new prime minister has already decided before the polls even close here in Alberta.
Yeah.
And, Ottawa, they love to take Alberta's money, but they do everything they can to destroy the way we make our money. And
it seems like
it's trying to keep our energy in the ground, and they're instituting all of these top-down policies where they're trying to take control of everything. They're taking away parental rights, and they're outlawing portions of religion. They just forced that new law through that, if a pastor in a church reads the wrong scripture from the Bible, he could spend up to 2 years in prison.
Yeah.
Like, that's absolute insanity.
And who decides? Who decides that?
Yeah, that's who decides, right? So, and the way the law is written, it's vague enough that they can use it for just about anything.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they had a lot of pushback, but with all the floor crossers they had, people changing sides, they were able to force it through. And so here we sit with this kind of
yeah. Well, that's
basically, they're trying to destroy anything that threatens their power base. And religion has a lot of power behind it. They do a lot of good for the community, but they also provide at different times a lot of pushback against the government. So the government is looking for levers that it can use to shut us up, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
Censorship is in full effect. And,
Yeah.
just to give some people some context here, like Dave's in Alberta in Canada. I'm in British Columbia in Canada. Far cry different politically. Like, I mean, we're probably worse than the East as far as a collective. Not personally, but it seems like these bills, and like I was never big into politics. I was never kind of like just I don't even know wouldn't even know how to categorize myself politically. But now, coming from sort of like our way of eating, that lifestyle, being aware of my food prices, that sort of sparked me to be like, what's going on? Like, I've watched in real time the 5 or 6 things that of my staples that have been in my diet for the last 6 years have been just going up.
Well, you want to know what's crazy is Alberta beef, some of the best beef in the world. And right now, I've got a friend that lives in Vietnam.
Mm.
And now this actually hit the news a while back. It wasn't him that broke the story, but he just happens to be a friend of mine that lives in Vietnam. He used to be my pharmacist 25 years ago. But he can go into a grocery store there and buy Alberta beef less than half of what we pay here. How does that make any sense? They're having to get the beef, ship it across the ocean to Vietnam, and they're still able to sell it in the store at half of what we pay right here in Alberta from a local rancher.
Oh man!
Last October, I bought a beef, and so bought a whole cow. Now we paid $4,500 for that cow, and we wound up having to send it back because it was butchered wrong. They had taken all the fat off of it.
No.
And in the 2 months that it took to get a new replacement cow, their beef prices had already jumped for that same one whole cow from $4,500 to about $5,500 to $6,000 just in a space of 2 or 3 months. And that same whole cow, cut, wrapped, and delivered back even 5 years ago, would have been about $2,500.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I think I bought my first half cow, 5 years ago was my first half cow, and it was probably $2,800. And it was like a half, not a full. But and now I'm just, every time I walk, like, because I always go into the grocery stores just to look around now, because I'm shell shocked. Like, I'm just everything, eggs, butter, and I look at the grocery store beef, and it's like, what is going on? So that sort of ties me into how I started looking into politics, and it's unreal watching this stuff happen in real time, and how it's affecting everything. And now we have this war. And it's even worse. Like, I don't know how your gas prices are in Alberta, but I mean, in BC, it's just.
Well, yeah, I mean, our gas prices here in the city I live, the highest they were a few days ago was, I think it was 178.9. And yesterday they went back down to 164 or something. And that's because there was a ceasefire with the Iran war, so the price of oil dropped $7 or $8 a barrel. So,
well, in BC, our highest so far has been like 220. I'm not kidding. It's insane. Yeah, and we're the same country, and this is like, I think we have the highest gas prices in the world. I don't know. I don't understand what happens, but
BC has a lot more gas tax.
Yeah.
In different areas than Alberta does. Like Alberta, we were because of that MOU that Danielle Smith signed with Carney, we were forced to increase our carbon tax here. But we have a lot less other taxes. They removed most of the provincial gas taxes when the prices spiked because of the war. So it kept our prices from spiking as much as, say the rest of the country did.
Vancouver's I mean, I don't understand. Like Vancouver used to be one of the top 3, I think, places to live in the world. Now it's absolutely insane, and it's not getting better. And for all the people, like, it's sad because politics gets dragged into this. And, we voted for this, not the majority, mind you, but we voted for this to happen and to continue. And it's mind blowing. So you're in Alberta. There's big talk about the separatists, like the Alberta separating. And now, for a little context for all the people that aren't Canadian, we've always had a little friction between the French and English. Quebec's always been on the brink of separation. There's always been a little bit of conflict there. Well, recently, with all the climate nonsense and our liberal government federally, Alberta's really coming. They're saying they've had enough, because they're basically in Alberta. They're bankrolling the rest of the country, and they're not allowed to tap into their natural resources because of all this climate nonsense. And this whole thing is, they got elected a minority government. Basically, it was still able to be debated in the parliament. And now what we have in Canada is we have all these people that were elected for a certain party crossing the floor without an election and switching teams. And what I find funny, Dave, is the policies haven't really changed. It's not like all of a sudden they had a 180 and they're like, oh, well, now it's different. No. This has been the same, the same direction anyway, politically. And now we have almost, well, it's going to be a majority government where we can't. How is that? What do you feel about that? Because it drives me insane that this is possible even.
Yeah, I mean, it should. My feeling is crossing the floor shouldn't be allowed, period. When somebody wants to switch parties, it should automatically force a by-election. No question.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're allowed to do this, and that Carney's taking advantage of it, and keeps bribing people to cross the floor. So this is the 4th floor crosser we've had.
Yeah.
So they went from a minority government, they went from a minority government to, they're like one away from a majority, and there's 2 by-elections still to go.
Yeah.
So they could very well, and they're both liberal strong ridings. So they're probably going to wind up with a majority that they weren't elected to have.
Yeah.
And
this is what I want. I posed the question out there because I posted on social media. I was like, goodbye, Canada. Like, this is it's like democracy. What is that? But people were pushing back saying, well, it's undemocratic to not let an elected official switch. I'm like, okay, you take away your logic, your straight facts, and think about the people that voted for something and are completely railroaded. Like, yeah. I'm with you. This is, and the funny thing is, in our history, it's happened before, but from what my understanding of it, it's always been at a pivot point where the actual party have changed a policy to make something a little bit more for maybe like a local riding, but nothing has changed. All these politicians that were voted for Conservatives were preaching how bad it is for the Liberals, and now they're saying, well, it's good. I don't get it.
Yeah. It's, when the people that voted for that person based on the party they belong to and the values that they hold or held, that's what you voted for, and for them to switch sides like that is a complete betrayal.
And especially right now, where
I don't think that's, and it's certainly not democratic.
No.
Being able to switch sides after you've been elected, after the people have spoken and sent you to represent them based on a set of facts and principles that you were good with, that you voted for. And now they're jumping sides to the other party and completely going against what you voted for and what everybody else in your area that voted them in voted for.
Yeah. And when the Liberals
it's not acceptable.
when the Liberals won the minority allegedly in the election, because I don't even trust anything anymore. But okay, so they got a minority government. They're in power. They still have some pushback from the opposition, who are supposed to hold them accountable. Which, that's our system. The country voted for it. Whether I think we should have or shouldn't have is not the point. That was what we voted for. There has never been a time in the global spectrum where the sides are pretty defined. And now I don't like to say I'm right or left or anything. I'm more for just what's being said and what the policies are, if I agree or disagree with them. But now you can't say that, because there is a definite dividing line between conservatives, the Democrats and the liberals, and the Republicans and the conservatives. And I throw this out to the American people to try and grasp what's going on. Imagine if you went to your federal election. We actually have a little bit more focus on the local governments, but whatever you're voting for, imagine if you voted for Trump and all of a sudden your vote just got counted for Biden. That's kind of what's going on. And they're saying, well, no, it's just the local level. It's ridiculous. And how in our history, how many floor crossers there ever been? And now we've had 4 conservatives crossing over to liberal and 1 NDP. What?
Yeah, I forgot about the NDP one. But
and yeah, you're right.
The fact that they can do this, especially, there have been floor crossers in history before, but never did it affect the balance of power.
No. Yep, exactly.
But now it's definitely affecting the balance of power. When you see the censorship and communistic stuff that the government's forcing through now, what's going to happen when they have a clear majority that they didn't earn?
Yeah.
Then what's going to happen? I mean, we've already got a situation here in Alberta where we've got one of the oil sands projects here in Alberta is now owned by a Chinese company, and they have armed guards using illegal weapons that no other Canadian is allowed to have, weapons that most of our military doesn't even use. They've got high-end automatic weapons with 30-shot clips, AK-47s, that kind of nonsense, and they're walking around in this oil sands project, guarding stuff with these illegal weapons, people dressed up as soldiers. And the Alberta government isn't saying boo about it.
Wow.
They won't even investigate it. And what is going on here?
And that's like, I've completely changed my attitude about guns. I've always been non-violence, I always was always conflicted about the US's policy about guns. I thought it was too loose. I've come around now where, it's like, okay, I get it now. I mean, when they put that law in, the right to bear arms, back in the day when, the US, British, the American Revolution, no shit. Because I actually saw a post where a guy was like, okay, I'm going to put something out there and you gotta just feel this one. And you tell me, if the government tells you you don't need a gun, you probably need a gun.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I have,
well, when you look at how they're doing the gun confiscation stuff here in Canada right now, they're claiming, we're only taking, assault style weapons. Well, tell me, how is a single shot 22 an assault style weapon? That's one of the guns on the prohibited list. A single shot 22. Exactly how is that an assault style weapon?
Yeah.
It's complete nonsense. They're, these orders in council that they put through. Although at least the Canadian, the heck is a letter stand for the CCFR. Their case was actually accepted by the Supreme Court of Canada, so that all the guns that were outlawed in that order in council, that may get reversed.
Okay.
Because that type of stuff isn't supposed to be able to be done through an order in council. a widespread banning of guns like that result in mass confiscations, that's something that should have had to have gone through Parliament.
For sure.
And that's what the Supreme Court case is based on, that it shouldn't be allowed to be done that way. So we'll see what happens with that. It's been accepted. I don't know when the case actually starts, but a lot of us are watching it pretty careful.
I mean, if you look on the grand scheme of things, like, as far as mass shootings, and so they could, from a global perspective, if you will, Canada has never had a problem. It's not like we've never had a real gun control problem. I mean, obviously there's crime and there's that stuff. Not to mention in Vancouver, I wonder why the Chinese are letting it up. It doesn't surprise me that they're armed to the hilt defending their stuff, which I'm hoping that doesn't propagate into other areas, because I don't know about you, what you think, but we're just inching our way towards China. Like, that's what Canada is becoming.
Every policy that Carney is putting in place ties us tighter to China. And, the fact that he's making joint military deals with them to train together in Canada. There's already been Chinese troops in Canada training. The fact that they're putting in, as the first big new infrastructure project under Carney, they're building a road to Deepwater Port for a Chinese mine, a Chinese-owned mine. Why are the Chinese getting this stuff when Canadians aren't?
Yeah.
Why is our businesses being cut off and suppressed? And they're just letting them go on their merry way. They're helping them.
And all these policies, all these things that we're talking about right now. The biggest thing in our election when we voted for this guy was his spin on how Trump is the devil, and I will protect you against Trump. Yeah. And I mean, all my mom's 80, all her friends are completely, they're mad at the gas prices. They're mad at the immigration. They're mad at the affordability. They're mad at their rent. And yet they voted for this.
Yep. They voted for it. And elbows up crowd.
Do you really think Trump has been a problem for the last 15 years? Like, I'm not, and that's a whole other conversation. And I mean, I'm not for or against. I think what's going on right now is just crazy. It's not even in Canada, in the world. I mean, that whole thing affects everybody, obviously. And it's just like, what is going on? And I even hear our government talk about how we have to stop Iran. And I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with us? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we need to be, all these billions of dollars they're spending overseas, they need to be spending here in Canada.
Yeah.
Helping Canadians.
And it's funny how you said that before too, about in Alberta. If we just used our own energy, we have none of this problem. Nothing.
Yeah. Well, look at the ridiculousness of them. Alberta and Saskatchewan together, they have, I think, the third largest reserves of natural gas on the planet.
Yeah.
And what is the federal government doing? They're buying liquid natural gas from Australia and having it brought in by ship. What are they doing?
And it's funny because you add BC to that mix, and you have the largest coastline on the planet to access the rest of the world. And we're sitting here, like our premier in British Columbia, he's talking about how it would disrupt the pristine coastlines, and like, okay, man, but you know what? Taxing me into starvation and poverty is better.
That's the Laurentian elites. They don't live in the real world. They don't have to face struggling to pay the rent or putting groceries on the table. It means nothing to them.
Do you think this is part of a bigger agenda as far as the world?
I do. This and in some ways this could kind of lead us into kind of the new stuff that I've been getting into. For those of you who don't know my story, I was actually in a wheelchair for a number of years and bedridden for a number of years with multiple autoimmune diseases and whatnot. And I found through the carnivore diet, physical healing. I was able to get out of that wheelchair and completely change my life. But that doesn't mean that everything about me was okay, that everything was healed. Was definitely not the case. I mean, I still have ongoing issues with damage left over by autoimmune. You know, I still have a lot of pain issues with my back. Back in November, I had neck surgery.
Recovering from surgery, yeah.
Had the neck fusion, and that healed up nicely. But you know, I've still got a lot of pain issues and stuff that I'm dealing with, and as well as a lot of emotional issues. I mean, I was brought up in a mentally abusive environment. My mom had bipolar disorder, which remained undiagnosed until she was in her late 50s, early 60s, I think. And so, you know, life at home was pretty unstable. And you know, once I dealt with the physical health issues and you know, even I've got bipolar as well, but when I was, after being on carnivore about 6 months, it went into remission. So I don't really have those types of issues, but I was really dealing with a lot of anger, and that anger was really becoming untenable. I had, let me see, I guess it would be almost 2 years, well, actually be about 2 years ago. I did a program called Hardcore Leadership Training, which helped with a lot of it. It helped me deal with a lot of childhood trauma and stuff. But it helped me deal with the anger for a time, but it didn't last. And as I started having the anger issues come back, then they got worse than ever. And I mean, I was just losing it over stupid little things. You know, the least little thing didn't go right, and I was exploding my top. Even my cat was becoming afraid of me. And I started trying to figure out, where is this coming from? And I learned a few things. And the things that I learned allowed me to shut that anger down. But there were basically two things that I learned that were really key. One is how social media is designed, how its algorithm is designed to actually make populations programmable.
Yeah.
So they use a process that was actually developed and refined by the U.S. military. There was a fellow by the name of Chase Hughes, and he actually helped them design their program. He helped them refine it. So he knows how it all works. And now he helps people kind of counteract what the government's doing, because what they figured out is that when they can whiplash a person's emotions constantly, so when they take you from, you know, laughing and you know, this is funny, this is fantastic, and then they take you down the emotional ladder to outrage or anger or sadness, and then they ramp it back and forth like this, so you're jumping up and down. And as they do this, it completely bypasses your logic centers of the brain and is activating the animal center of the brain, the amygdala, or the lizard brain.
Is the key.
Yeah. So when it's activating that, it allows them to basically program you, whatever information they give you, because your logic center has been suppressed with the whipsawing of emotions. Whatever they tell you, you'll accept. And you'll accept it based on what your worldview is,
Mm.
because you're looking for that confirmation bias, right? So they do this to set people against each other, and they keep the population divided, so that they're not concentrating on what the government is doing.
Yeah.
So if you start doing some actual real investigation, looking at all the people that are involved in this, you look at the WEF and what their policies have been, and what some of the stuff they were talking about that, people laughed at 10, 15 years ago, that we're now seeing being implemented, right?
Yep. Even 5 years ago.
Yeah, even 5 years ago, a lot of stuff people were laughing at it. Oh, that's just conspiracy theory nonsense. And now we're seeing it come to fruition. They've got their hands in just about every major government on the planet, and they're putting in this plan. They're keeping us divided so that we don't come out against them, so that we're not concentrating on them.
It's like
keep us fighting each other.
It's like David Icke said. It's David Icke says, it doesn't matter what you believe as long as you believe it 100% and get triggered by it.
Yeah, that's what they count on. So once I understood that, then it gave me something to work with, and I changed how I dealt with social media. And I've actually backed off of social media a lot. And when I start getting emotional with stuff, I'll take a break.
Yeah.
From social media. I'll do like a social media fast. I'll hardly look at it for a week or two.
I call them tech timeouts, buddy. I call them tech timeouts.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just kind of on the tail end of one of those. I really I got this stupid flu. Actually, I got the flu twice. I got one type of flu, which I got over quickly, but it left my system kind of weakened, and then I got this stupid stomach bug that also really affected my joints. And I wound up so sick for like a couple of weeks, and I'm with joint pain like you wouldn't believe. And even the meditation routines that I've been using for pain couldn't keep up anymore.
No.
And so I needed to get off of social media. I had to resort to using cannabis again for a while to deal with the pain. And I'm just now starting to get to a point where I might be able to manage again without it.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing, of course, the meditation, different routines that I've been working with.
Yeah.
And, I kept hearing about this transcendental meditation, that how fantastic it's supposed to be. So I went trying to find out more about it, and discovered that, well, it used to be really open about being able to learn it. And now some people with money kind of, they took the transcendental meditation and copyrighted it as a term, turned it into this big thing. And now if you want to learn transcendental meditation, it's like in Canada, I checked into it, where I'm living, it's like $1,400. And I'd have to travel 5 hours to the nearest big city to even be able to get the training.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started trying to investigate on my own to figure out it can't be that complicated to learn. There's someone else that's, they're turning it into a profit model and instead of helping people. So I started doing some research, and I found out it's actually a very simple meditation and not complicated. Anyone can learn it. And it didn't cost me $1,400 to do it either. I mean, and transcendental meditation is so bloody easy. I mean, you combine a decent breathing technique. It doesn't have to be anything out of the ordinary, just any good meditation breathing technique. And you make up your own chant. You make up a word that doesn't trigger any thoughts. That means nothing to you. Eventually it takes on a life of its own as you do the practice, but it needs to be something that's not triggering any thoughts, because the whole idea of transcendental meditation is absence of thought.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been doing other meditations where you're trying to stretch out time between thoughts.
Well, yeah, that's,
And
you know, like
it works, but it's much more difficult to do.
yeah. And I think it's so funny because, like, you know, I've been a meditator for quite a while. And, you know, when you first start out, you think it's this big complicated thing. And it's actually just, you know, like I believe there's two sides of the same coin. One is stillness, the other is active. You know, whether you're manifesting, whether you're intending, whether you're focusing on a question, and then it's stillness. So, you know what I mean? Like, and I chant, like I'm a big mantra guy. I think the beads, the seed mantras, you know, Om being the most recognizable one. It's all sound and frequency. And I think I think where we're going with this was the world is crazy, and doing these practices take you away and inside yourself. And I think that helps with, you know, and I'm the same way, Dave. I've gone, you know what? The world is happening. I need to separate myself from it and get inside myself to be present.
Well, I also got into like I've had you know, I was raised in a very strong Christian household, so I had a strong Christian upbringing. But there's always been aspects of Christianity that I had problems with.
Yeah, okay.
And I've always looked for
laughing because
you know, I've for years now I've been seeking out some of the scriptures that were removed from the Bible when it was canonized.
Totally. Book of Enoch.
And what I ran across a whole bunch, and I found the Nag Hammadi texts. And that's
right here, buddy. Of course.
That Nag Hammadi is I mean, a lot of that is direct teachings that Christ taught his inner circle of disciples.
Thomas.
Yeah, after he was resurrected.
Is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Gospel of Thomas. There was the secret gospel of
John. The Apostle.
Yeah, I think there's a whole. I got like a big long list. I've got like what's kind of called the Gnostic Bible. It's like all the Gnostic scriptures that were found at Nag Hammadi, as well as some other stuff. And what I learned is that the nature of sin and righteousness and that kind of thing is not what we think it is.
No.
And that a lot of the reasons that people do these bad things is from outside influence, from these traditional Christians would call them demonic influences. In the Gnostic literature, we refer to them as
archons.
Oh, for crying out loud!
Archonic.
It slipped my mind. The archons, yeah. So the icons are basically a form of control system. They literally feed.
They actually mean rulers in Greek.
Yeah, and they feed off of our low emotions, when we do something wrong or evil. You know, when we commit an evil act, it's not about the fact that it's evil. It's a low frequency action. It lowers our frequency when we perform that action. And when we lower our frequency, we make ourselves accessible to the influence from these archons. When I learned this, and then I learned an exercise that raises my frequency high enough, they can no longer access me. Yeah. It shut off the anger like that. It was gone.
Interesting.
Just absolutely gone, almost instantaneously. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
And then I started delving a little deeper. You know, I've always had a bit of an interest in crystals and stuff like that, but my wife developed an interest, so we kind of got into it together, and we started getting, is that selenite?
A star tetrahedron quartz.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a few nice little pieces right in my office here. I've got this is a nice Amazonite piece.
Oh, nice. And then, of course, what's your necklace? Mine's Labradorite. What's yours?
Mine's Amazonite as well.
Right on.
Yeah, and the Amazonite is really good for strengthening energy work. And but some of the energy practices I do are pretty powerful. When I first started getting into this, I had some wild experiences. When I unlocked my pineal gland,
Oh yeah, buddy.
the feeling that created in my body was almost orgasmic.
Totally. Yes.
It, it, and it felt like a switch. It literally felt like a switch being turned.
Yeah.
And it's like this big rush hit my body, and I was like, "Whoa, what the heck was this all about?"
I mean, I was like, how I started, like how I woke up, I would say spiritually, was I did DMT like, oh gosh, 15 years ago, 20 years ago maybe. And I had an experience, and it was calculated. I wanted to explore and do it as a journey. And nothing short of talking to God, but I found the presence was mothering and very feminine. And it told me everything vibrates, everything has a frequency, everything.
Yep.
But I wasn't ready to receive it. Like it told me this, and I was like, wow, okay. Well, 15, 20 years later, I'm breathing, I'm doing breath work. And all of a sudden, right at the brow point, right at the third eye center, explosions. And I'm like, this is DM. Whoa. Okay. There's something here. And ever since then, I've been sort of getting, going into different places, and like nothing is off the table. And I truly believe my diet has allowed my brain to at least process and receive things on a more natural level, if you will, than being, contaminated by all this distraction. And I've had the same thing sort of happen. It's like this bliss. It's like, holy, and out of nowhere. And it happens quite often now with me, and it's usually just in my own place. It's not like forced. It's not, some meditations are profoundly crazy. Others are just subtle and good. But that's really interesting you say that, because I've felt, when you feel your third eye open, something else. Something else is like this. This shit is real.
Yeah. Well, and some of the experiences I had with some of the meditations were very intense. I don't know if it was full out of body, but
Okay.
I definitely I've had several instances of external consciousness connection.
Yeah.
Where I've been given information, and where I've downloaded stuff, and it's been what I've learned in the last 6 weeks about the nature of reality.
Whoa, baby.
Actually, the last 3 months, but especially the last 6 weeks. It was about a month ago, or maybe a little over a month ago now. I ran across a fellow. It was a really long interview on YouTube. It was like a 3-hour interview. A physicist by the name of Thomas Campbell.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And he has figured out what people that know much about Einstein know that, Einstein and other physicists, they've been trying to work out the mathematics that explains reality, all of reality.
Einstein and his spooky action at a distance, right?
Yeah, because back before they really understood quantum mechanics and quantum entanglement, they were doing all these experiments trying to figure this stuff out. And Thomas Campbell is a unique combination of people, because he's not only a physicist with, I think he's got 2 PhDs and some other bachelors and stuff. The guy's got doctorates coming out the wazoo. Very smart man. But he's also a practitioner. He'd had experiences as a child. He actually got taken on out of body experiences by a non-human entity when he was a child. And they showed him how to do these out of body experiences. And then when he did something that he shouldn't, they cut him off and they wouldn't let him do it anymore. And he wasn't able to do it until he was actually finishing up university, and he got a job. He got a job with a guy, and this guy threw a book on the table and said, "You need to read this book." So he read the book, and what the heck was the name of the guy?
Robert Bruce.
No, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he kind of started this revolution of astral projection and out of body experiences.
Robert Monroe.
Yeah, that's the guy, Monroe.
I just finished. I've read 3 of his books, and it's all. Yeah. I'm doing the gateway experience right now. Like as we.
Yeah, I've done one of the gateways, and I've got another one that I've been afraid to try, that I'm going to get into soon.
No, well, I was experimenting with the gateway about a year and a half ago, because this. It's funny that you bring this up, because I've been on my quest to have an out of body experience, doing as much research as I can, and I'm seeing so many similar patterns and stuff. Anyway, I was practicing Kundalini yoga pretty ferociously for about a year and a half. We're talking every day. And I was getting into deep mantra trance states. And I had one. I was in my room chanting this traditional yogic chant. And about an hour and a half in, all of a sudden I was staring at my cat on my bed. And I'm like, what's going on? And I didn't really realize what was going on. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm up. And I'm back in my body. And I was like, ever since then, I was like, I don't know what that was. People say, well, you're just dreaming. I'm like, no. This was something. So I felt it. And I've been on my quest since then, learning as much as I can, trying to. I've started lucid dreaming. I remember I have vivid dreams every night now. And it's unreal that you're talking about this, because this is something I don't really tell people too much, because they think either you're crazy or you. But the gateway, I could only find the first 3 sections of it on YouTube or online, and I couldn't find it. And then someone was selling it for, like, I think it was really expensive anyway. And then sure enough, something told me to read this last recent book of Robert Monroe. That day, my partner, Fleur, she's like, I have something you might like, has the whole gateway experience from one of her clients. And I have it all, and we're doing it together now. So we're just going like step by step through it, and we've been doing it for about 2.5 weeks. And I did it.
Yeah, I definitely want to get my hands on all the gateway audio stuff.
I hope no one hears this, but I'll send them to you, buddy. You got it.
Yeah, something else that I got into. I actually got into this before I stumbled across Thomas Campbell. I read a book called the Celestine Prophecy.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
And that, it's written as a parable, but the principles in it are real. And I've also now got the 10th Insight that I read, and I bought another book called Celestine Prophecy: The Experiential Guide, and it's got a bunch of exercises in there. Yeah. For all the insights 1 through 9, both for individual work and group work. So I just put out a little classified ad in a local paper here, and I'm putting together a group where we're going to go through that experiential guide and go through them, because I've been able to do quite a few of the insights, and I've had some pretty wild experiences. I don't know if you saw the video I posted on the Next Level Healing about my trip to Edmonton.
No, but I don't think so.
Yeah, what I discovered there, one of the the 4th insight is the ability to be able to see energy. Mm-hmm. You start off learning how to see your own energy field, which I was able to do fairly quickly. Yeah, and then we went I wanted to go to these big indoor gardens that they have in Edmonton, the Mutart Conservatory, I think it's called. They've got like 4 big pyramids, glass pyramids that are greenhouses, and each one is like a different. Like one is a tropical rainforest, and another one is like a savanna and that kind of thing. So I wanted to go in there to learn how to see energy from live plants and see if I could move energy back and forth. Yeah. And it was an interesting experience because although I could see their energy in little wisps here and there with my eyes open, it wasn't until I closed my eyes that I could actually see the fields of energy, all different colors. And the different habitats had different colors associated with them because there was all different frequencies, right? And I was able to get energy from the plants, but I wasn't able to send energy back.
Well, you just have to talk to them, buddy. Then you're sending them a carbon, right? That's the
I got to my back was starting to hurt and I was in too much pain to continue. So after we left, I was sitting in our vehicle in the parking lot, just doing some ujjayi humming to deal with the pain. And I wasn't looking at anything in particular. I was just kind of zoned out, staring out through the front window. And there was these big trees, I don't know, maybe 20 yards away, 20 meters away. And as I was humming, all of a sudden, without trying, like when I was in the habitats, I had to like bend my will to being able to see the energy. Here, I wasn't doing any of that. I wasn't trying to see it. Just as I was humming, I was seeing energy pulsing from the tree in front of me. And as I changed frequencies of the humming, the energy would change. Wow. It would expand or contract based on the frequency. And because I had just learned the day before that as I hummed in different frequencies, it affected different parts of my back.
Yes.
Which is why I was shifting frequencies. I was doing this.
Yeah.
And if I'd have known this while I was inside, I was actually able to draw some energy from the tree and send some back outside. Just once I added humming to it, once I added this frequency component. And that's what kind of set me on this deeper quest of learning more about the nature of reality and how everything is tied together with frequency. And this Thomas Campbell guy, him being a physicist and somebody who meditates, and as soon as he went to work for Monroe, he was able to start doing the out-of-body experiences again. And so he actually did research with Bob Monroe, Monroe, as well as a couple other people that were involved in the program. And some of the research that they did is pretty amazing stuff. And they were able to confirm the out-of-body experience is real because one of the tests that they did is they had Thomas was in one sound isolated room, and these are all like all the rooms are sound treated and the whole 9 yards.
Cages.
Yeah, so he was in this room. There was another room in the middle, and then there was another guy in the third room, and they both went at the same time, and they had a shared experience. They were able to see. They both saw the same things, and they were able to. They got recordings of them talking about it and about the things they were both seeing at the same time. And I mean, that's just one experiment. I mean,
well, this is, like what I've found, I don't know whether it's my, my left or right side brain. Well, maybe both. Maybe it's because it's hemisync. No, but I've found like I'm looking at patterns and now doing my research into the out of body experiencing, and like there's certain things that just I've felt compared to what I felt, and I've been in certain states that I've like, whoa, I was close. Like this is definitely is I think firstly is your nervous system needs to be calm. People now think about what are poisons that we're getting in, like just exposed to all around, from our food to the forever chemicals. Your nervous system, and then you're like your point before with the social media, you're redlining the nervous system all the time. There's no way to get into that, and without some kind of, whether it's transcendental meditation, whether it's just simple meditation or breath work, getting into that calming the nervous system. And I think that also resonates over diet, because we're so amped up and hyped, and like everything's so like acidic and busy to calm it down. And that's the thing. It's the whatever your relaxation technique is, or wherever you're sort of going with it, calming the nervous system. And then the next one is the theta state. Like I think your brain getting into that theta like undercurrent where it's not conscious but not sleep. Like Robert Monroe calls it mind awake, body asleep.
Yeah.
And I think have you heard of Darius J. Wright?
No.
Check him out. He's a full-on out-of-body experiencer, and he basically, his method uses sleep paralysis. Like you induce sleep paralysis, mind awake, body asleep, and then he comes out of his. But it's interesting how a lot of the patterns are very similar, even in the traditional Tibetan, the yogic. It's very getting into that place to be able to do this. In my humble opinion, I think that's what the modern day, the powers that be, the elites, the global agenda do not want us to know.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you look at I mean, as carnivores, we already have quite a large knowledge of how harmful many of these processed foods and stuff are to humans. Yeah. But now when I started getting into Gnosticism and learning about what archons are and how they operate and why they try and influence us, they actually, I believe, that they have influenced directly the people in charge of the Absolutely. Food supply that are making the decisions, and they are designing these foods specifically not so much to keep us sick for profits, but to lower our frequency, Dave, so that they can access us and feed off of our low frequency.
Not only that, Dave, but all my research, all my exploration, I'm always asking why. It's not money. It's not power. They have it all. There's something else. And if there's something else, what is it? And that, you hit the nail on the head. But I think our food and our civilization that we come to think is what it is now was designed, we're talking like biblical times, back then, introducing the agricultural revolution, if you will, knowing that it dumbs us down, knowing that it keeps us alive, but it doesn't allow us to expand and become our true potential, whether you want to say source, Christ consciousness. But I think that I agree with you, like, and because that's the only thing that this leads. And I think there might be even a power play with the elites or the powers that be. I think they battle for a position as well. And I think it's frightening, because all that stuff that most people find tinfoil hat bullshit, I think is actually true. And because
I think these elites, most of these elites that we talk about are under full archon control. Yeah. I mean, they're not even responding as human beings anymore. They're doing exactly what the archons want them to do, because that's what feeds the system. That's what keeps the archons able to access us, able to feed off of our negative emotions.
Yeah. And
that's, it's the prison system that we're locked into. And I used to think that, the reincarnation trap that they talk about in Gnosticism is a bad thing. And I actually don't believe that anymore.
Okay.
and this actually comes kind of directly from Thomas Campbell, because the reason that we exist is so that we can improve, so that we can learn and experience and evolve into higher beings. And until we've reached a certain level of being awake and understanding the nature of reality, until we've reached a certain point and are living lives that are based in high frequency, until we reach that point, we're not ready to try and do anything else. And we're certainly not ready to just declare ourselves as done and go home to source. I don't think that's actually the way it works. Now, I don't 100% agree with Thomas Campbell in his views on the nature of reality. His view is that this source consciousness is it's basically like a computer system that anybody that is part of that consciousness can create their own reality, which is what we're living in. We're living in a reality, I believe, that's created by Christ. Now, that's not what Thomas believes. That's what I believe, to be clear. Because any computer system, right, you have to have a programmer or an architect, right? And if Thomas is right, and source or the true God is consciousness, right? Then the purpose of that consciousness is to evolve and lower its own entropy.
Yep.
So to become more organized. And what I discovered in the connections I've had with higher consciousness is that the true power of the universe, or the true power of source, is based in love and compassion.
Absolutely. Like,
and
yes.
it's embodying love, compassion, and empathy that makes us these higher beings, that allows us to be able to wield the kind of power that we've actually been given access to. The kind of power that we have to affect our own reality and change our reality is far deeper than anybody, than most people realize. Because most people are just physical beings. They don't see anything outside of themselves. And it's only those who have reached a point where they understand that our body doesn't even contain our spirit.
No.
Our spirit is actually out there. Our consciousness is out there, not in here.
Yeah.
This physical body is an antenna.
Yeah.
Because we can access far more information than our physical brain should be able to contain.
Of course. And,
they've proven this scientifically. Greg Braden talks about this quite a bit.
And here's what I think about that is, I'm a fully in agreement, but I believe that our body, our physical earth body, belongs to the earth. So if you can, separate, and this is what I find a lot of times with the spiritual people that I know and hang out with. Everybody's trying to get enlightened, but they're forgetting that the physical body, whatever you want to call it, if it's real or not, but it belongs to the earth. So what I feel when you're talking like this, I always think, instead of righteousness, it's alignment to nature. And nature for the spirit is not on the earth, but our bodies in nature are. And you can see that connected to the earth is good. Pure water, real sustenance, nourishment. And it's debatable how much we really need if we were living in a perfect natural environment. I mean, we could argue how much meat we need to eat. We could argue how much, but we're not. So I think they're trying to, and that's where you come into the archons as well. They're trying to disconnect you from all of it. So
Yeah.
when you're not connected to the earth, you're reliant on something outside yourself. When you're not aligned with source and true consciousness, you're in a loop of fear and anger, and it's like, and I totally resonate with that. Like that is, it's love. Unconditional love is just everything without judgment. That's that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about, oh, how I love you, baby. It's not, no. But if you do not judge, if you can't hold a judgment, that would be unconditional love. It has to be, because there is just being, just, and I think that's what they do. They drive us away from this. Even having these conversations, people get a little bit like, whoa, what are you talking about? But I think these conversations are so important, because this is what, and it's so okay to talk different views and even disagree. This is like, you want to talk about expansion. These conversations expand the mind, you know, and
Yeah.
and you look at what we talked about earlier with social media, like it's just designed to cut that down, like instantly get you triggered and react. And you know, it's beautiful.
Well,
come in this.
and when you look at what the powers that be, you know, the elites, the government types, the people with all the money, when you look at how they keep trying to steer us away from foods that heal,
Yeah.
you know, like that, when they invented that genetically altered tick that makes people allergic to meat.
Yeah. Go figure.
You know, like what's the purpose behind that? Oh, well, we need to save the planet from beef, right? That's their so-called excuse.
Yeah.
And you know, when you see them doing this kind of nonsense, then that tells you everything you need to know. That tells you that if they're expending this amount of energy and propaganda to get us off of meat, that's exactly why we need to be on it. Because that's
if your country says you don't need a gun, you probably need a gun. That's the, you know, and
exactly.
I feel you. Like I absolutely agree. And that's how I started with this stuff, was when I started learning about nutrition and actually really digging into it. That's probably what shook me awake the most. How, with all the logic that and the rational and critical thinking that I'm laying out on the table, how could we be so wrong? Because it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. All this vegetable oils, all this sugar, all this, you know, the gross list on the FDA. And when you look at it from a spiritual standpoint, they're just trying to disconnect you from your true self. Like they're just trying to keep you busy and sick. It's clear. Like, you know, and it's funny because I want to get your take on this, because a lot of times in the carnivore space, you have people that are like, well, meat is murder and we shouldn't be eating. You know, I actually had a guest on a show that said beasts eat beasts. And I hear what he's saying. I think he meant more about the supermarket, the mass production and the harm and the cruelty to animals. But I was like, okay, well, I think there's a place for fasting. I think there's a place for, you know, gluttony, what you actually need. But then this is the thing, Dave, I want to get your opinion on this. We're talking from a 0 point, but what about the people that are broken yourself, that have needed to heal? You're going to need something to get to that 0 point.
Yeah, I mean, I hear these arguments all the time from the vegan propaganda base.
Yeah,
right? Where they talk about how, you know, eating meat is murder and, you know, we're killing them and all that. And what they're glossing over is the same corporations that are growing the crops and the market gardens and all that to feed you the vegetables that you want to live on. How do you think they protect them?
Yeah.
they use pesticides to kill the bugs and the animals, and they'll poison animals by job lots. They'll go out there, they'll send people out with guns to shoot the critters. They'll fence them out with the property, and they use all these herbicides that have downstream effects from animals that eat the bugs that were killed by the herbicides, and creates physical problems for them that get passed on to their young genetically, and this kind of thing. So it doesn't matter whether you're being a vegan unless you're growing the vegetables in your own garden, in your backyard, and never killing an insect or an animal to protect those vegetables. Then you don't have a leg to stand on telling me that I'm a murderer because I'm a carnivore.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the number of animals that are killed to protect crops and vegetable gardens, it's far more animals are killed for that than to feed carnivores.
And that's a thing too, is like when we look at where do you draw the line with sentience, where do you draw the line with consciousness, where do you draw the line with what is or isn't acceptable for death? And in my opinion, if we're all part of this earth and our physical bodies are part of the earth, we take from it and then we give it back. And I don't think they want that. And that's the thing with, if you're an ethical, you don't want to harm animals, that's fine. That's your prerogative. And you do your best to live like that. And I've seen healthy vegans, and I've seen healthy vegetarians, and I've seen that's a different talk whatsoever. And I'm one to believe, do your best to not waste anything. And, my rights and freedoms end where yours begin. So what you do is, if it's not harming me, or, it's kind of to each his own. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, when I first started this carnivore thing, I used to have a real problem with vegans, and I don't anymore. I mean, I understand kind of where they're coming from. I mean, they've been sold a bill of goods that isn't real. They're making false equivalences.
It's indoctrination. It's an ideology created by someone. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And if they want to live that way, that's up to them. However, you don't have the right to try and stop me from living the kind of life I want to live.
Yeah.
Right? When you have certain individuals that are going into restaurants and throwing blood on people and screaming and yelling and carrying on, they're not helping their cause, for one. And they're making people realize that this person isn't particularly stable. Now, is that because they're not a stable person, or is that because they're vegan, or a combination of the two?
Yeah, because they're missing.
They're not helping. They're not helping their cause.
No,
and they don't realize what they're actually doing when they're pulling those kind of.
Like, I think there's on the other side as well, as there's some fanatical carnivores as well. Like, there's some fanatics that oh, you have to do this, you must do this, if you don't do this, you're not a and I don't buy into that stuff at all. I'm like, I am trying to navigate my life as best I can to try to do at least the least amount of harm in my perspective as possible, without malicious intent of anything. And it doesn't matter, where you stand with what I do. I just do my best to be better, Yeah,
I mean, all we can really do, especially in this day and age when things are just seem so insane everywhere, is, we have to look after what we're doing in our own lives and our own communities.
And I would love to just live on a farm, and I would grow vegetables. I would, if I could control the soil, control the dirt, control the love, control the seed, control the chemical. Like, you see where I'm going, right? Like, this is where we're at, like, shit. People think that bottled water is healthy, and you're like,
No.
Think about what it is, right? Like, okay, you know, like it may not be as bad as I'm telling you it is, but really, they are taking a God-given right to everybody to be alive, arguably, on this planet, and they are making money selling you something that is. Who tells you that Lake Erie is yours or mine or any like? Okay, but we're going to take this, we're going to bottle it, you're going to buy it, and we're going to tell you it's good for you. And it's like, holy shit. It's just.
Yeah, let's not even talk about all the chemicals from the plastic that leach into the water when it sits in the plastic bottles for months at a time.
Not to mention, yeah, the heat. Like, and it's funny, Dave, because I just, it blows my mind, this whole like self-defeating prophecy of it's our fault for polluting, but they're making the stuff. Like, you've changed our copper pipes, which I find funny because I mean, back in the day, I was a plumber and I did irrigation, internal plumbing. We all used copper pipe, and then all of a sudden, it was this polyethylene, polyurethane, like PEX, potable. Like, oh, this PVC is potable, so you can put hot water through it, drink it. Interesting. And but damn you for trying to be, you know, like they make this stuff and then they tell us that it's our problem for using it. It's like, shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of the reasons that I went out and spent the kind of money I did for a U.S. made. If I could have found a Canadian made one, I'd have bought one. But got a U.S. made all stainless steel water distillation.
Well, yeah, I've got one sitting right beside me right here, man. That's.
I never drink tap water.
Control your own destiny. We just add some minerals back in, and that's our water.
It's exactly what I do.
And I think that's a very good investment for people that want us. Like, if you're lost about what water to do, what filter, but distill it and then add your own minerals. You can control it and play with the ratios. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I've been doing that for about a year and a half now. I think we got our first distiller and then went and got the exact same one, just new.
Yeah.
After the fire.
Yeah.
So the previous one we used. But.
What do you feel about the Kangen water, like the alkaline water? What are your thoughts on that?
I think there are definitely some health benefits, especially if you're dealing with cancer. I think it was Dr. Otto Warburg discovered that cancer cannot survive in the absence of sugar and an alkaline body. So if your body has got a higher level of alkalinity than it would normally have, the cancer cannot survive. So, I mean, there are definitely some benefits. Normally, there's not a lot you can do with your body chemistry just from normal day to day.
I know the pH in the blood is tightly regulated. But I mean, I think in my opinion, like the degree, I don't think anybody should be drinking 10 alkaline water. Like, that sounds pretty nuts to me. I mean, I think water in its distillation is neutral. Like, that would be, close to neutral. But if you're right, if there might be some certain situations where it might benefit you for sure. Well, that's another nonsense that they're selling us. The water, like. Seriously.
Well, look at what Canada Health has outlawed in the name of protection, right? any natural remedy that is proven effective, they outlaw.
Yeah.
Look what they did with Empower Plus. I personally know the people that developed Empower Plus, and invented the formula. And I watched as CBC lied to try and get them in trouble with the government, and how the government went after them. And even though they were researching, they had a research lab doing double-blind studies.
Okay.
And when the double-blind studies proved how effective it was, and that report was sent to the government, less than a month later, they were raided and shut down. And they were basically driven out of Canada, so that they now operate out of Idaho.
Unreal.
And
yeah. It's
and even just normal health things like ear candles, they made those illegal.
Yeah.
Because you can heal your ears from an ear infection without medications. So any natural remedy that interferes with pharmaceutical profits gets outlawed by Health Canada.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can go back further, even to the Rockefellers, the petrochemical pharmaceutical industry, and then how they basically put out a campaign to completely disregard all the holistic modalities. Anything to do with any natural healing was quackery, and it was a campaign to basically talk down to anything from from Reiki to chiropractors. Like, all of it was just no, because what is chiropractors? You don't really prescribe drugs. You know what I mean? Like RMT, yeah, well, okay, well, they allowed you to be massaged, I guess, for a little bit of leisure, but I mean, and even some of the deeper spiritual techniques were just when people they think all that shit is the woo stuff, and you're sitting there sucking back pills based on petrochemicals in a system.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's not a place for certain medications and certain specific reasons for them, but I think you're on the same page as this, but lifestyle medications, really, that whole term just.
Yeah. Yeah. If medications were really effective, you wouldn't need a refill.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, medications have a place for temporary use.
Yeah.
While they're trying to figure out the underlying cause. The problem is modern Western medicine, they don't look for the underlying cause most of the time.
Yeah.
They see the symptom they give you a drug to treat the symptom. They're not interested in healing the underlying cause, because that would cut into their profits.
Yeah.
And when you look at the billions of dollars a year that the pharmaceutical industry pumps into medical schools, pumps into lobbying and financial rewards for doctors when they meet quotas for prescriptions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's absolutely a corrupt system that's been designed to make people sick and then sell them the solution for life.
And isn't it funny how all the doctors that we've come to know and arguably trust are the ones that are blacklisted and excommunicated from the mainstream medical,
which tells me everything I need to know.
Exactly. And that's what I laugh. I laugh at people. I'm like, I want the outliers. Like, Dave, you're an outlier. You've done impossible things. I want to know what you did. Not somebody saying how, no, that's impossible. He was just genetically blessed. What? It's unreal how that whole, you do something that is so, and now, even with touching on the spirituality side, it's really clear that the intention and the process matters. And genetics now, even, I don't know if you're a fan of Bruce Lipton, but the epigenetic factor is key. It's not the genetics. It's the it's what you do to influence your genes.
Well, that's a thing. And there are so many things that can influence our genetic structure. Food, of course, can do it.
Yeah.
And, the wrong kinds of foods will entirely change our genetic structure. But so will different meditation and spiritual practices. Heart-brain coherence.
Beautiful.
Will shut off your aging. If you're doing it regularly, you can basically shut your aging almost completely off. And can actually reverse your telomere growth.
That you need, just a longer exhale in a controlled environment from a controlled inhale. That's heart coherence breathing. It's wild, and your nervous system gets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, coherence isn't just the breathing technique. It's making the connection with your heart, that awareness, and then re-experiencing stuff in your life that gave you gratitude and love. And once you do that, it creates that coherence, that alignment between the actual neurite cells in your heart and your brain. And then if you combine that with a practice of hemisphere synchronization, you can hit that with a double whammy. And as soon as you access your heart in heart coherence, that gives manifestation techniques power. That's what makes them work. And it was a combination of that and a specific manifestation technique I used to lock my frequency higher and shut off Archon access and shut off the anger and all the constant negative self-talk. It just gone.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we have certain symbols around our house that represent the monad, and it's supposed to block the Archons. I got them under my bed. I've got them all like in the kitchen everywhere I look. And then apparently, if you're talking crystals, lapis lazuli, I think it's called.
We've got some.
Yeah, that's how
we've got we spent a fair chunk of insurance money on crystals.
Oh, right on. What? Have you ever had a disappearing crystal? Oh wow,
that's a neat one.
That's cool. Have you ever had a disappearing crystal?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that. I did have a crystal I was keeping on my headboard.
Yeah.
That is supposed to block Archons.
Yeah.
And the third night I was using it, it just went for a trip on its own under the bed, out of reach.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's apparently crystals take vacations, and they can just, and it's happened to me. I had a rose quartz little healing crystal beside my bed, and I never touched. The only time I touched it was to bring it out into the sun to charge it. And I'm like, where the hell did this crystal go? Like, are you kidding me? Nobody was over. This crystal disappeared. And it was like 3 weeks. I forgot about it. Then all of a sudden it was back. And I was like, you gotta be, and people are like, yeah, that's crazy. I'm not crazy. This happened. And I did some research into it. And apparently it's quite common with people that use crystals. Like, the crystals can just do things on there. It's like, okay, I'm not.
Well, we've probably got a collection of probably 150 crystals.
Cool.
So it's pretty extensive. Nice. And one of my favorites isn't even really a crystal, really, and it's those salt lamps.
We've got salt lamp.
Yeah,
because that's kind of backed into the ancestral. My sort of perspective on the ancestral living is like, it makes sense that we would have had sun, we would have had moon, and we would have had fire. And emulating firelight, I think salt lamps do a really good job of keeping the light warm. And I try not to overhead lights. Nothing like when the sun goes down, the lights up top go off. And I love salt lamps. I think they're good. Like, we've got quite a few of them.
Well, plus when you're shining the light through them, just that gentle warmth puts out negative ions.
Nice. Yeah,
I think it's negative ions.
Yeah, it's I there's an exchange somewhere, and it's they're beneficial for sure. I think like definitely. That's and it's funny how all this ties in to the same sort of like breaking this modern bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think they're driving us, and whether you want to call it archonic, manipulation, if you will, but it's unreal how I'm so happy to have this talk with you, because like, this is the stuff that I feel sort of like in the carnivore space, especially the animal based space. I wanted to get deeper. I wanted to go deeper because I see these people with so much like real growth, change coming into their own. And I think this is the stuff that's the next level, if you will, healing. So I would like to talk about that, because you started a group on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started a small private group called Next Level Healing. And the reason I did was when I first learned about Gnosticism, I joined some of the larger Gnostic groups.
Yeah.
And what I discovered in those large Gnostic groups is that probably 85 to 90% of the people in those groups are completely stuck
Okay.
and very reactive. And, you say one thing that they don't agree with, and I mean, they just dogpile and they're attacking. Like,
Okay.
when I mentioned I was carnivore, then all of the Gnostic vegans came out trying to show me all the Gnostic scriptures that told me how evil I was for eating meat, until I came back with a breakdown of King James scripture and actual Gnostic scripture. The stuff they were quoting wasn't from the Gnostic scriptures.
Yeah.
It was from other stuff and other traditions from the Essenes that had nothing to do with Gnostic principles.
Mm.
And I was able to take them through everything, and Christ's own teachings
Yes.
show that you can eat meat and that it's fine. I mean, he fed meat to the masses.
Yeah.
Right. And he instructed his
Fishes and
disciples that when they travel to eat what they're given, not to be fussy, just to eat whatever is put in front of them, which included meat.
Yeah. Yeah, when you go to somebody's house, like, and I remember, I think it's in the Gospel of Thomas where they say, Master, should we fast? And he's like, fast if you want, but when you go to somebody's house and they welcome you in their home, you eat what they eat, and it's out of respect. And I mean, and that's kind of funny because, like, you look at the Hindu traditions, they don't eat beef, they eat pork. Then you look at the Judaism and the Muslims, they don't eat pork, but they eat beef. And it's like, okay, well, we can argue till the proverbial cows come home about who's right and wrong. But I mean, I think you just got to do what you feel is,
Well, I think when it comes to food, I think if most people just ate clean, if they ate whole foods, no processed foods, no seed oils, no refined sugars. If they did that, 85% of chronic illness would just go away.
Absolutely.
And I think probably 50% of violent crime, would go away.
Contrary to what Kellogg said.
Yep.
Right. And I absolutely agree. I mean, I have sort of these tenets that for me, to sort of share with people is eat close to God and Mother Nature intended, and whole foods whenever possible. I mean, but that's where you can get very subjective, you can get objective, you can get into the weeds about what, like a broccoli isn't a broccoli, and a broccoli grown in a greenhouse with a bunch of sprayed chemicals. Well, I don't think God and Mother Nature intended that. So, just because it's green doesn't make it good. And, just because it's meat doesn't make it good either. Like that's, and I think nowadays, I think we've taken this, hey man, I don't know, I actually don't know one true carnivore that wouldn't take the chance to live in their own farm and at least try to butcher their own animal and actually go hunting. I think all of us should.
Oh, I would do it in a heartbeat if I could.
Yeah.
I mean, I argue it's how I grew up. I mean, I grew up on farms.
Yeah.
And I mean, my parents taught me to, and they did it safely, by the way. They taught me to shoot when I was 6 years old. At 7 years old, I was hunting my own wild game.
Yeah.
And that's it's a completely different connection to nature when you live like that.
Yeah. And even when you're looking at, you'd say like heirloom or ancient seeds, when you hear about the farmers would put it in their mouth to exchange DNA before they put it in their soil, we're not talking about civilization and crops subsidized by the government. We're talking about a family. We're growing food for us, and I think we're so far removed from that. And I believe seasonal and local. That's another tenet of mine. Like, it's when you can, eat seasonally, eat locally. You know, if you're in the north, you're going to eat a lot more meat. If you're in the equator, you're probably going to eat a little bit more fruit. I mean, do I think fruit's bad? You know, I think naturally we would have probably ate berries and fruit from time to time.
Oh, we certainly would. Yeah, when they were in season. Like, I've been carnivore over 3 years now, but the first couple of years I was extremely strict.
Yeah.
But now, when it's the proper season and I can get them picked fresh off the tree, I'll have a couple of fruit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect me. I've found, the first 2 years I was so sensitive to everything.
Yeah.
And now a lot of those sensitivities are going away.
Mm.
And I'm even doing an experiment now. I just started it about a week ago, to see if my thyroid is fully healed. Because I've been, I've got hypothyroidism, and I've been treating it with a natural mineral supplement called NAC.
Oh yeah, cool. NAC. I take NAC every day.
Yeah, and I watched a video about it about 2 months ago, and there's been some new research that came out with NAC and thyroids, and if you do like a really high dose for a prolonged period, it will often heal the thyroid permanently.
Well, it's not a surprise.
That's what I did. I took 1,800 milligrams a day, which was double my normal dose.
Yeah.
So I went to 1,800 milligrams a day for like 2 months.
Well, there's two things, right? One is if you went into the hospital with a Tylenol anything overdose, they pump you full of N-acetylcysteine. It's like the immediate antidote. It's very protective for the liver, but it also is one of the precursors for glutathione, which is your main antioxidant, which makes sense in the healing side of things, because that is just telling your body, we've got the goods, we've got the stuff to heal. And I mean, I think I'm a big fan of N-acetylcysteine, specifically for lungs, people with COPD, people with liver things. And it doesn't surprise me that you've had success with thyroid, because it seems like it's a general healer.
Well, the experiment I just started is I went off it when I finished up what I had left last week. I'm going to go off it for the next 3 months, and I'll get checked out by my doctor and see how my thyroid's doing.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it's completely healed. If I have to go back on it, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I'm always trying to push the envelope of what I can heal. What can I experiment with? What can I try? What can I get away with?
Yeah.
So, a lot of carnivores out there are extremely strict, and they never experiment once they've found what works.
Yeah.
And, I applaud that. And that's for that person, that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
But for me, I've always been a bit of an experimenter. And over time, I want to see what works for me, what doesn't, what can I get away with, because I need to be able to have that information to give other people that I help.
Well, it's don't you find it a coincidence that during COVID they wouldn't sell NAC N-acetylcysteine on Amazon? Funny.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So that
well, I mean, and that's the Health Canada way. I mean, they also outlawed peptides.
Yeah.
You can't buy. I mean, you can get them in Canada, but it's a really circuitous route that you have to go through to get them, and they're really expensive because of it. And amino acids. You can't order any of that stuff off Amazon anymore.
Wow.
In Canada. I have to order my allulose from the States, and because it's been outlawed in Canada and I'm forced to order from the States, it's twice the price that it used to be. It's like $45 for a 3-pound bag.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, no doubt. And those are the things that sort of blow my mind when it's like, look at what they're pumping into us and trying to push on us. And then the stuff that's like, you know, these natural things. And I mean, like, you know, if somebody's diabetic or somebody's sugar addicted, allulose is a great alternative. Like, what? You know, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's basically they want you on. If you need to heal from something, yeah, if you need to heal from something, they want to make money off you.
Yeah,
and that's the bottom line. And they've lobbied the government to pass the laws to protect those profits.
So I'm gonna turn this. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say, Canada is one of the worst nations on earth for blocking natural food, you know, natural remedies of all kinds that are proven to work. They don't care about the stuff that doesn't work because it's not costing the pharmaceuticals any money. So they don't care about all the garbage out there that's being sold as health food because it's not health food and they know it. But the stuff that actually works, that's what they outlaw.
No kidding. So I'm going to tie this right back in around to the question that I asked you first about Canada. Do you think this is by design? Do you think that we can control the outcome of what's going to happen to Canada?
Personally, I think it's too late for Canada. We've gone so far down the rabbit hole into this left DEI nonsense and all this, you know, and we've got a prime minister that's totally captured by this nonsense. He's got all these conflicts of interest. Every decision he makes profits his own companies.
Or planted. And I think he's planted personally. I think he's a headhunter that was sent here to destroy Canada. That's my heart talking. But
yeah, and I think you know, the only choice or the only chance that we've got to really improve things for some of us in Canada is if we leave Canada. You know, like that's why Alberta, we've got we passed the threshold required for signatures for the petition. So there will be a separation vote this fall, October 19th, actually.
Well, if it doesn't work out with me, Fleur and I, when we got together, we were thinking we had 5 years because we were like looking at somewhere else because Canada was just going off the deep end. Then, you know, when we met last year, it was like, okay, well, we have maybe 2 years, maybe no. I think we're looking at something happening in September. It will be at the very least coming to Alberta. At the other side will be somewhere. We're trying to weigh out our options to be, you know, expat somewhere, you know, climate hot.
Yeah.
But it's
Lisa and I've been looking at that too. I've been actually doing a lot of research the last few months on moving out of Canada. Like if Alberta doesn't gain independence and Canada continues to go the way I think it's going to, like full communism, we're going to get out before that happens.
Yeah, we're looking at like we've got about 7 countries we're looking at. Panama. There's an island in Honduras off the coast that apparently is really popular with expats, and it's kind of self-contained with farms and Nicaragua, where not Venezuela, sorry, no, it wouldn't be there. Guatemala, also Paraguay, Uruguay. We're looking at it, and it seems like it's not that difficult to leave, but it saddens me, man, because I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore with this. Like, and I feel like sometimes like, are you giving up? But I'm like, how much fight do I have to try and deal with this nonsense? Because it's nothing that like when the country we grew up in has so far gone is like,
it's long gone,
and it's so sad. You know, like I loved my childhood. I loved growing up in Vancouver. I had everything, man. You know, I could go on vacations. I could go skiing. I could go, you know, boating, and I could do now. Good luck buying boat gas. Holy, like Christmas, right? It's just insane. And I'm hoping for Alberta for the sake of just normal people, but I don't know, man. I don't know if what do you think? Do you think people are just all boiling frogs? Like they're just like waiting for that degree and then they're going to be boiling? Then what happens? Is it like full on?
Yeah. I think that's, part of Canada's problem, part of how this happened in Canada is, Canada had a culture of trusting the powers that be. We trusted the government to have our best interests at heart. And, for the longest time they did. But that began to change. And not just when Trudeau and the Liberals got back in, but even before then it was starting to happen. But they really accelerated it. And I mean, we've gotten pretty serious about looking at other countries. I've also looked into Paraguay and Argentina, Panama. That's another one we've been looking at. Also been looking at possibly Vietnam or Singapore.
Yeah.
Also, Georgia, the country Georgia.
Okay.
It's actually a surprisingly easy place to move to with low taxes. And now a lot of them you can get citizenship with investment. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to invest right now, but there's a lot of countries where you can invest 200,000 or 300,000 in the bank and get a passport.
Yeah, that's what we've been finding too. We're looking at sort of a cost of living side, and it's like, obviously our dollar doesn't get stretched at all, but in US dollars, it's actually pretty affordable to do. But I can't believe this time frame has been like, it's just ramped up so quick, because it's just all of a sudden I thought, okay, we have hope, and what do you feel about Polyev? Do you think he has a chance? Not agreeing with what he's saying, but like actually becoming the prime minister one day. I don't think they're going to let it happen. I don't think that the agenda will.
Well, I think, he might have had a chance to win if the NDP had gotten a better leader in their leadership convention. But part of the problem with the NDP is, like, anytime the Conservatives have been in power, it's because the NDP won a fair amount of seats. But with the gong show that we saw on the leadership convention, and like they've gone off the deep end with the DEI nonsense. And there was people at the mic trying to speak, having arguments with each other because this person's trans card was taken before this person's race card.
If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, go Google the NDP convention. You will lose your mind. If you are any kind of sane, you're going to look at this and just be like, holy shit. And I think, Dave, I quite honestly think that is a plant as well. I think the Liberals funded this to be so ridiculous that they're not going to do nothing. They've already lost the last election. They lost a bunch of power. Now they're just. It's
also when you look at the number of seats, actual electoral seats, and where they are, right?
Yeah.
Ontario and Canada have more seats combined than the rest of Canada put together.
Yeah.
Which is why they decide what happens for the rest of Canada. Be damned what anyone else wants. They take Alberta's money and then buy votes back east with all their.
How do you feel about the Bloc? Because there was a time when they were like sort of standing. I don't know. They're just like wish-washy with all the policies and.
Well, the Bloc, they've got two big strikes against them in my view. One is they are very anti-religious. They are the ones that supported C9. They're the ones that wanted that. And they're also the ones, it's Quebec, that is forcing the gun grab.
Wow.
When they found that, when they got that undercover conversation got leaked from the safety minister, And he admitted that the only reason that they were pushing it was because Quebec demanded it.
Wow.
That's the only reason the confiscation is continuing, because Quebec wants it and they've got the power to force it through.
Well, and this is the problem with our government now. It's all backroom deals. It is. It's all backroom deals, and I don't know how you feel about this, but in my mind, wouldn't it make sense to, if you want to pass a law or pass a bill, one subject, this is the bill. This is what the subject is. We vote on it. Why are we, it's like the US Congress. Why do we have 70 pages of fluff for the actual thing that they want to happen being way at the bottom or buried under bureaucracy?
That's because the stuff that they're trying to bury is stuff that they're going to use later to do something really nefarious. Yeah. That's why they do it that way. And, even if Polyev got in and made a bunch of changes and made everything better for people, they would last as long as conservatives were in power. And as soon as liberals won government again, which they will eventually, they'll just undo it all.
Yeah.
Just like they've done every other time.
Yeah, it seems like it's a bit, and that's where I'm just, like, I've been forced to pay attention because I don't want the rug pulled out for me, but at the same time, I'm losing complete faith and hope in this system, in our country, and some of the people that I talk to, and I just, you hear something that they're arguably conservative leaning, but then something happens and they just flip back to this. It's all, I can describe it like agents in the Matrix. Like all of a sudden they just, and they're that's their line, and then all of a sudden whoa, and yeah, it's crazy, man. And I'm really happy we got a chance to talk.
It's all part of the programming they're doing on the population with social media and algorithms.
And this nonsense about Canada censoring on Facebook. I've had it now. It's happened to me where it's like someone was talking about cholesterol and it was like, cannot see this in Canada, and I'm just like, you got it. Kidding. This is where we're going. Holy, we already can't see news. Like wild. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's so ridiculous. And they just, the lack of common sense and the absurdity that I see in the federal government is just mind-numbing. Yeah. The literal evil stuff that they are doing in the government right now, the corruption, lining their own pocketbooks,
the proven corruption. Like this is what the, I know, I'm like you too. And I'm like, you know what? If somebody doesn't answer a bloody question in the next 10 years, I'm going to lose my mind. Like every question that is asked, they do not answer anything straight. Yeah. They do not engage the question. And it's always just hugging and hawing and circumventing stuff. And it's
they are literally spending tens of thousands of dollars on consultants to train the MPs how to do circular answers to questions.
Wow.
Like they actually pay people to train them how to answer like that.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought that was frustrating.
Ugh.
It's just gotten worse.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, Dave, I'd love to, it's been awesome catching up with you, man. And I always appreciate your perspective and, not to mention your whole journey and your process has been, it's been nice to know you and see some of the stuff actually transpire. And I wanted to actually get you back, and we'll get into a little bit more maybe geopolitics, because we didn't even touch the Trump, we didn't touch the war, we didn't touch that. There's so much bloody nonsense going on in Canada. I figured it was nice to talk to a Canadian that understands this stuff, because it seems like most of our American friends and global friends do not get it, but because they just and they laugh.
Do you blame them for not being able to understand what the hell's happening in Canada? Like the ridiculousness we see in the government of Canada is just it's mind-numbing.
And
How
and
stupid
they're all,
they think people are.
and they're mocking us. Like I've seen a couple of news reports from Australia going, "Look what's happening in Canada." It's like, oh god.
Yep.
And it's yeah, it's kind of, it's interesting. It's just like you said before, man, it's interesting times. But Dave, I want to respect your Saturday, respect your time, and love to have you back on, and we'll do a round two and get into more. I love the esotericism, the occultism, the spiritual stuff that's a little bit more out there, because I think that stuff matters. And I think a lot more people, what I find, are opening up to the possibility nothing is what it seems.
Yeah. Well, if any of our viewers that are watching just happen to be in the GP area, which is where I live, if you know what that is, then you're okay to understand what I'm saying. I just don't want general public understanding where I live exactly. But if you're in the GP area and you're interested in joining this group I'm putting together for developing the Celestine Prophecy Insights, definitely give me a shout. You can give me an email. It's just fuzzyd@gmail.com. So FUZZEEDEE. So just Fuzzy D, spelled a little funny.
Nice. Yeah.
And or the name of the group is Next Level Healing. Check it out and ask to join. So
awesome. Yeah, man, I'm happy. I wish I was in the GP area, because I'd be there with bells on, my friend, for sure. And we didn't even talk about the bells. We didn't talk about the bells, how they're healing. Anyway, well, we'll do that again, and we'll get into it. And yeah, and as far as your coaching carnivore stuff, is it the same, or where do people find it?
Yeah, I've got the channel Fuzzy Carnivore Coaching. There's also Fuzzy Road to Health, which is that's a Facebook page. The Carnivore Coaching is a Facebook group. Then I've also got the website, so it's fuzzyroadtohealth.ca, and I've got a YouTube channel which is just at Fuzzy Road to Health. So YouTube/at Fuzzy Road to Health.
Awesome. And I'll make sure
there's also if you want to, I did start a YouTube channel for the Next Level Healing. Not much there. There's just a couple of videos, but that's NHL Fuzzy.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and I'll put all that in the description, and then I'm going to link you to the Instagram. This is live, but it'll be on recording, and when we put it out on YouTube, I'll have it all in the description. And if anybody wants to really know, if you're, you know me, and you know my stuff from the past, I interviewed Dave, or we did, on our podcast I was probably close to a year, if not a year ago. And his story is one of the very powerful ones. And I would suggest go check out our last talk. Powerful stuff. And Dave, man, always a pleasure, buddy. And it was so nice to meet you in person this summer. And hopefully we get to reconnect this year on hopefully good terms. we're not getting marched by the red, by China or anything. I mean, if I'm allowed to leave BC, because I'm sure the first fence that goes up is around Vancouver. I don't know. So stay well, my friend, and it's great to talk to you. And we'll do it again. I'd love to have you back, and we'll get into a little bit more.
No, I'd be happy to come back anytime. Anytime you can put up with me.
Oh, anytime.